Hey guys, welcome to Geekdom Movies. We're here for you, a very special, spooky episode of Geekdom Movies, Halloween 2021. Like I was saying earlier, we've got Edgar Wright. He's been hyping this movie up. It's his first big, scary horror / film noir. There's a little bit of time jump between London. There's like 1960s London. By the way, 1960s London looked amazing in this movie. If anything, if I just had to rewatch those scenes, it would be worth it. I mean, he's directed 3 of my favorite movies: Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. He also did Baby Driver, and he probably did other movies that I can't think of right now. And he's back this time with a very unique look. What's her face? The one that you were just talking about, James, from the trailer. What's her face with the chess Netflix?
Oh yeah, the Queen's Gambit. You're talking about Anya Joy-Taylor.
Anya Joy-Taylor is absolutely fantastic in this movie.
Oh, yes.
I literally, I kid you not. We saw a really crappy movie. No, I actually liked it. The X-Men one with the origins, and there's like a scary house. But it was like X-Men universe. And it's like haunted, but it's just...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
New Mutants.
New Mutants.
Yes.
And again,
She was amazing in that.
Oh my god, she was amazing in that movie.
Actress.
She is, and she's great in those Glass. She was great in those movies. What was the prequel to Glass called? It's not Glass.
It's not.
Split.
Split.
Yeah,
Yes,
Split.
She was in.
That's
Split.
her first movie, and oh my gosh.
She was in Split, wasn't she?
Yeah,
And
that was interesting.
And then Abigail, the little girl from Little Miss Sunshine, because that's just how I remember her at this point. She was an old, and she played one of the older girls who becomes older. And now she's back in this movie, and she plays the main character. And can I just say, these 2 actresses are phenomenal in this film. I never doubted their performance. I never doubted their the threat and the things that they were going through in this movie. I totally believed in all the emotions. And everything that was shown. It's a really interesting movie. I think it's very original. When we go into spoilers, we can talk more about whether those if the plot and the story really work or not. I think we can have some fun conversations there. But what I will say is there's some really good jump scares. There's some really good thriller like Scream, like Michael Myers effects that are there too that are really good. There's a little bit of this thing where you don't know if this girl actually is going back into the memories of, what was her name? The old girl? Sandy, played by
Anya Joy-Taylor.
Yeah, you don't know if she's interacting with her or just reliving her memories, because there are parts where I think she's actually in the world and interacting with the world, but then other parts I just feel like she's an observer. We had a little bit of conversation. Something happens in the beginning of the movie that makes you think, wait a minute, you can't get that. This scene just had this thing where she had a hickey. And you're like, wait, is she reliving her life? Is she interacting with that world? There's a lot of things going on. It's not really that much of a spoiler. That's why I said it. She got a hickey. It's whatever.
Might be a spoiler in some people's worlds.
Well,
Yeah, I think it might
I don't know
be.
how to describe it without saying it. I'm like, it's not that big of a spoiler. There's just a lot of questions. That's what I can say.
You spoiled a lot of relationships. Get out, but...
Okay, well, I don't even know where I was going. Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's Edward Wright's best movie, but it's not a bad movie either. I enjoyed the ride. And the twists works for me. Either you're going to get me with the twist and I'm going to be totally buy that, or I'm going to be no, you're just doing it to make a twist, and there's no reason to have that there. For me, the twist totally worked. The movie could be cut a little bit, I would say personally, maybe by 20-30 minutes. It would have been that perfect time zone. I think it drags at parts, especially the beginning. But other than that, I enjoyed it. George, how about your non-spoiler review? What do you got for us, sir?
Okay, so this movie actually had some fantastic colors. It was very vibrant.
The cinematography. I didn't even talk about that.
It was phenomenal. To be perfectly honest, and some of the scenes they did CGI very tastefully, I'd have to say. Since this was in the spoiler. Since certain scenes are from shot sort of the 60s, it was really cool seeing like some of that. Reminded me a lot of the one movie we saw about was it Judy? I think was the name of the movie.
Judy Garland movie?
Yeah, the Judy Garland movie.
Oh, I see. You're saying like the indoor theater.
Yes, like it reminded me
okay.
a lot of that. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Some of the music in it was just phenomenal. Some
Honestly,
of the songs,
I think the songs,
soundtrack was amazing.
I was gonna say the music just works in this movie. I wish there was more music, if anything.
I honestly think I want to go through and add some of those older songs to like,
Your
my
playlist.
because they're really good.
Yeah.
I'd have to say the acting was very believable from, like the actual actors. Once again, CGI, we'll go into that later. But it was kind of interesting. I wouldn't say that it was a really amazing movie, but it kind of held your attention. It had some good twists to it. I'll go with that.
Yeah, James.
All right, my non-spoiler review. This is, once again, I have a theory about scary movies. I love the horror genre. My theory with any good scary movie, it's really no longer than an hour and a half. At the most, maybe an hour 40. Because in this case, I didn't like the beginning. It really dragged. It took a while to get to the point for me. I knew with the preview what it was kind of about, and the twist when you get to the end of it, or towards the end of it, was like really, really great. I really enjoyed that. And the ride at the like middle, some of the scenes in there were good when she would like kind of go from one world to the next, and like it was like, whoa, this is like really interesting. I thought that was pretty well shot. It was really seamless, and it didn't feel like it was like really staged. But there were some instances where she seems like she's in it, she seems like she's an observer, like that was kind of hard for me to kind of figure out which it was, and that was something that I was like trying to decipher myself. I feel like it's a bit of both, but like Georgia said, like Fahads said, it's a more artsy kind of horror film, and I wouldn't even call it horror. It's more like a thriller or a suspense. Because of the beginning, it dragged, like I said, for a minute. The middle picked up. The ending, pretty good twist. And so the ending in the middle kind of made up for that beginning, but because of the way that beginning was, I kind of give it like a C plus grade, because the cinematography was very, very good. The colors are vibrant. The one thing I will say, and this is of no offense, well, it kind of maybe is a little bit full offense, but I guess if I say this, it'll kind of spoil it, so I guess I can't really say it.
Don't do it then. I know exactly, because there's so much I want to talk about of the movie, but it kind of, I get what you mean. It's
borderline spoiler.
Yeah, it's a borderline spoiler, so I won't say it. But anyway, when we get to the end of it, I felt like a bit of relief and everything, glad that this had the ending that it had. At the same time, though, I can't really overlook the beginning. They really could have cut that thing by like 15 minutes, because there was a lot of unnecessary things that really didn't add to the movie, if I'm going to be 100% honest. And I mean, when we get into the spoiler, I will say it, but there's like very specific scenes that I can look at that I'm like, wow, that literally added nothing to this movie. And then there's other things where I'm like, why did they take us on that journey? And then there's like literally nothing that comes of it. So that's just my opinion of this. I think it was okay. It's different if you're looking for a movie that kind of comes out in Halloween, something a little more artsy. It's not going to like, get you all the time, because I only felt like there was one true jump scare for me that got me, and it was a little bit towards like that beginning towards the second act deal. Otherwise, I do think it was well shot, well acted. The plot of it was interesting, but it was a bit slow for me at the beginning. So that's my full non-spoiler review.
Good stuff, guys. So, guys, they keep saying that everyone's gonna run into superhero fatigue, but the top 3 movies this year, in order, are Shang-Chi with the biggest opening. Number 2 just beat Black Widow, which is now Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And number 3, of course, is Black Widow. So if they're talking about like superhero fatigue, I don't think anybody's buying into that. Or people haven't really caught up to that. We're just here in the Marvel universe. And we got Spider-Man Eternals next. But here's the real question. What movie will be number 1? But I think the biggest movie this year is going to be Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man is going to blow Black Widow's numbers. I think it's going to blow, even though Venom did really good and Shang-Chi did really good, and probably Eternals will be really good, I'm sure. I really believe Spider-Man is going to be the king in the end. Mm-hmm. But if I had a personal choice, everybody knows who I wanted who to win. No, I can't say that. I haven't seen Spider-Man. So that's a disservice to me jumping ahead too far.
Just based on the trailer alone, I want Spider-Man to win. That's a damn good trailer.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I still think Shang-Chi is going to be the better movie, but that's just me. I like superheroes, I like dragons, and I like martial arts. I don't think Spider-Man's going to have either of those. Well, no, they'll have
I like
superheroes.
parallel universes.
And this one has that.
And I like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
And that one has that.
Exactly. And I like Zendaya.
And that one has that.
So there you go.
And they also have Andrew Garfield and maybe not Andrew
Maguire.
Tobey Maguire. All right, welcome to our review of Venom.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Shannon. I'm going to be your host for today. We just watched the movie Venom, the second in the series. The first one was just called Venom. This one is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. These two guys have seen the first movie. This is Fahad, and this is George, and I'm Shannon. Before we get into our reviews, Fahad has a little bit of movie news for us.
Yeah, so I gotta say, I mean, I think at this point, Sony kind of, I mean, they fixed it, but look, we're gonna talk spoilers here. Like, go see this movie. If you're living under a rock, you already know what this big spoiler is at the end of this movie, because it's literally, you can't click Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, or Twitter, or anywhere else for that matter, and not know what the big spoiler is at this point.
But Facebook was down, so because of that, I didn't know. No.
We're going to go into big spoilers here. They're not big spoilers. The biggest spoiler for this movie is literally the after credits scene.
Yep.
And you know it. You already know it because everybody's talking about it. You know it because you can't escape the idea of like if this could connect to another Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I'm just giving you a heads up. This is going to be spoiler free. There's literally not many spoilers except for that one. Literally nothing I tell you is going to take away from your enjoyment of this film. There's nothing shocking coming. Just come back after you watch the movie if you don't want to hear our spoiler talk. It is now officially confirmed that Venom, this Venom, not the Spider-Man 3 Venom, which thank you, Sony, for not doing that to us, because I can't stand Topher Grace.
Aren't those the same Venom?
They're the same Venom, but that was the Venom from Tobey Maguire's Topher Grace, the 70s show guy Venom, which is a different symbiote compared to this Venom. This Venom is a multiverse Venom, meaning he's from a different universe. He's not from Tobey Maguire's universe, and he's not from Tom Holland's universe. He's obviously in his own separate universe, but something happens while they're on vacation. It looks like somewhere in like a island somewhere, and like the universe like shifts, and like the entire hotel and the design completely change. And then you see Tom Holland show up on the TV, and then it's kind of like J.K. Simmons is like, how, like he's saying like, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, which we saw at the end of the last Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland. And then Venom watches this on the television, this little tiny TV that was in their hotel, and he licks Tom Holland's face, saying that I guess he's gonna either I'm guessing he's gonna try to eat Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Why does... Okay, here's my first question for you, because I've never heard of Venom until today.
You've seen Spider-Man 3. You said you've seen it.
I was like 10 years old, and I don't remember it.
Oh, okay.
So, the first Venom movie takes place in which universe?
Its own.
Its own universe.
Its own
This
universe.
yeah.
At what point was Venom in the Sam Raimi movies?
The third one, we talked about this. The last Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire.
But that's
Yep.
not
Spider-Man
its
3.
own universe. That's the Sam Raimi universe.
No. This is a different
Universe.
Venom. This is a different Venom.
This Venom has no... That's what I was trying to say in the beginning. This Venom is not in Tobey Maguire. The Tobey Maguire Venom is the Topher Grace, the 70s show guy Venom. And he died. And that Venom, that symbiote
The actor died?
No. I mean, that Venom at the end of Spider-Man 3 died.
Okay.
So he was actually evil. He was like Carnage, basically, right? He was eating everybody and wanted to eat Spider-Man. While this one, the symbiote and Tom Hardy, it's gonna be so hard to remember. Tom Hardy and Tom Holland are gonna be in a movie together. Get ready for Toms everywhere, I guess, when we do that review. That symbiote lands on Earth, and then what happens is this like corporation that looks like Apple. I'm gonna say Apple, the CEO of this company, starts experimenting with that Venom in the first Venom movie, and that Venom escapes, and it eats a bunch of scientists and does all the stuff, but then it tries to connect, like the symbiote tries to connect to other people, and like there's no synergy. I guess like there's a certain
And
frequency.
It connects to the Venom.
So it eventually connects to what's the character? Eddie.
Yeah.
Eddie. So Eddie is the character that Tom Hardy plays
Right.
in this movie, and like there's like a sync, like they're able to easily become a symbiote that like
They can survive.
they can survive
Yeah.
together, and Venom can connect with it. But then Eddie says, here's the rule, I will let you take this over, because what happens is he gets fired by this evil corporation that like he tries to break the news that this corporation was doing like all kinds of evil things in the first Venom movie, like experimenting with these alien things called
So in between the Sam Raimi third movie and this movie, there's another Venom in another universe.
yeah, this is a sequel to that
That's
movie.
okay.
Yeah.
That's where I was going. And then
Right.
this particular Venom is going to show up into the Holland
That's what it looks like.
Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, I think how. So that's the thing. Like now we have Doctor Strange. Of course we have Doctor Strange. But we have Doc Ock from Tobey Maguire's movie. We have Green Goblin from Tobey Maguire movie.
Yep.
But we have
We have
Venom.
Electro.
We have Electro from Andrew
Oh.
Garfield.
We have
Oh.
Sandstorm.
Do we? Do we
Yeah.
have really Sandman? You mean?
Sandman, yeah.
Yeah, I did not know the last two actually. So that's interesting. I didn't
Yeah.
know they were going to use Jamie Foxx as Electro.
I'm not sure if they're using Jamie Foxx, but I do know that they at least hint towards those two characters, just because there's the yellow lightning,
Okay.
and then there's also like a sandstorm
Okay.
portion of the trailer.
Okay.
So essentially they're stating, just like with Green Goblin and Doc Ock, it was kind of subtle,
Okay.
but they're stating that those characters should be in there.
Wow. That's crazy.
It's going to be
means
huge.
Tobey
Yeah,
Maguire and Andrew Garfield show
Hopefully
up in this
so.
movie.
Well, fingers crossed. We
I hope
have so here's the thing, and I tell people this: it's like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield have to be in this movie, and I'm like, look, everything's hinting at they should be in the movie,
Yeah.
just because you have Doc Ock and Green Goblin and Jamie Foxx as Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it would make logical sense, but we did not. I mean, if I had to if I was in Vegas right now and somebody put money down and said, Fahad, is Tobey Maguire, at least Tobey Maguire, going to be in the next Spider-Man movie? And then it was like 50-50 chance. And you put money down, I would probably bet...
No,
I would probably bet yes, Tobey Maguire is going to show up.
I would think so.
I don't know if Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is going to show up, or even Miles Morales from Spider-Verse
Oh,
into the
yeah,
Spider-Verse.
that's another one.
So that's another universe, because that's the one that really did it back in the day. So again, everything is pointing towards probably, maybe, more than likely, but they're saving it for you to, like in this movie, like people saw it on Thursday and then just blasted all over Facebook that Venom's gonna be in Tom Holland's movie, right? Like you couldn't escape it. It was everywhere. And now like you watch it, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think we need to watch that movie the first day, because I swear to God, if somebody ruins that
I
Tobey
know,
Maguire's in it, I'm gonna
seriously.
seriously cry, because I would
know.
love to be in the theater when it happens.
I want
Thankfully,
to see that. Yeah, I want to see that on opening day. Yeah.
so thankfully you guys didn't actually see that. you didn't see the leak or the spoiler for Venom being in Tom Holland's.
Correct.
Like I did.
I
this weekend.
knew that, but I don't care that much.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't care. Okay.
I'd never seen a Venom movie, so I didn't care if he was.
Right.
But I'm super excited for the Tobey Maguire that I grew up with as Spider-Man.
Yeah, let's hope
the new Spider-Man movie. That would be amazing.
Now, let's hope they're in it. I think that would be stupid at this point to not show all these characters from different Spider-Man movies, these villains, and not have them be in it. But you never know. They could be just trolling us, but I doubt it. I think Tobey Maguire at least is
They're
going
gonna
to
put all the pressure on Tom Holland.
I
to
mean,
fight all the villains.
well, if you think about it, if you got Green Goblin, you got Doc Ock, you got some other villain that's probably in Tom Holland's movie that we haven't seen yet, whoever that may be, and you got Venom in there, there's no way Tom Holland is going to be able to fight every single one of those villains by himself. Now the theory could be like, oh, but then like Captain Marvel or Black Panther or somebody else comes in to fight with Spider-Man, but that's not what they're setting up.
No.
So the only other person that I can think, besides of course Doctor Strange being in it, the only other person that I can think is going to come into the rescue might be another Spider-Man or men, depending on how the movie. Or Spider. Hey, you know what? Gwen Stacy becomes Spider Girl in the comics, as we learned from Spider-Verse when we watched. I don't know. Did you see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you knew Gwen Stacy becomes Spider Girl.
Yeah.
In the movie. Okay. And then there's also Miles Morales somewhere out there that they're hinting at. There's just so much going on, and I think people have kind of said, like, I mean, you know, these movies have been going on for at least 15 years now. And everybody seems to... I mean, Endgame made the most money out of any other movie ever in the history of box office. I think it was the only movie to go past close to $3 billion at the box office. So people love Marvel. I don't think people will go see a DC movie as much as they go... I don't think any DC movie, in fact, has even made $1 billion, maybe except for Aquaman. Aquaman just kind of... made like ridiculous amount of money. Or Joker, sorry, I forgot about that one. But other than that, most DC movies, people are like hit or miss, you know. With Marvel, no matter what it is, if you just put that Marvel sign on the screen, everyone shows up. And I think it's getting to that point where it's like, nobody knows who Shang-Chi is. Yeah, it was number one for 4 weeks. Nobody knows who Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy or Star-Lord is. It was number one for like 3-4 weeks. No, it doesn't matter. The brand isn't the superhero. The brand itself is Marvel.
Yeah.
And this is why I think Sony could have really almost jeopardized this, because I think like 2 days before Venom released, Andy Serkis, the director of this movie, was like, yeah, Venom's gonna be in Spider-Man at some point. I think that was a good reason, because I think a lot of the money that they made this weekend was just so people would be like, wait, is Venom gonna be in Spider-Man? And then everybody went to go see Venom, right? I think that strategy is big for Sony. Sony says this is gonna be their last big Spider-Man movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now here's the thing, that's stupid, because people like Marvel MCU, Disney MCU, not separate Sony doing by himself MCU, without MCU. I don't think Tom Holland movies can be number one or make a lot of money if they don't include with the MCU.
Yeah.
So if Sony's smart and they're watching this, and you saw the numbers Thursday, not a lot of people went to go see Venom. Andy Serkis comes out, gets plastered all over Instagram, Facebook, you know, Google, everywhere, literally, that Venom's in it. You saw the spike on Friday night go up, like, drastically. Because people were like, wait, Venom's in Spider-Man? And then it made $90 million. That's all you need to do, is tell people this is MCU story.
Yeah.
So...
And I mean, I had zero interest in seeing this movie until they said that it had any kind of connection with Tom Holland. And
right.
Then I was interested to see it.
I call them like the odd couple. They're like a married couple. They're not really like a very disturbed, like, you know, messed up relationship between the Venom.
That was hilarious, actually, in the movie when Dan in it was like, man, they need marriage counseling.
This was more of a comedy than an actual action movie. So
I mean, it's definitely an action movie.
Oh, but it also has a lot more comedy in it than most of these action movies do.
Yeah, so let's, I'll go first with my review. Okay, like I said, this is not a good movie. I'm not going to say this isn't even going to hit my top 10 movie of the year. No. But for it to come out right during October, like that Halloween season. Thumbs up for that. I think this is the only time anybody would ever want to watch this movie. The other thing is, Marvel went full horror here. Like, even the first one, I don't feel like the first Venom movie was as horror-like.
Oh, no.
This movie, Carnage, and like that entire backstory of that girl, it was like really dark and messed up.
That's what made me wonder, was this more so based off comics?
I have no clue.
It seemed like it was.
It probably-
had that tone.
Just because the way it flowed, it didn't really flow as well as the Venom movie did. And so I was kind of wondering, just like they were saying certain lines that were meant to mean something.
Yeah.
Almost, but like they didn't go with the flow of the movie.
Yeah, there's something wonky about the story here. That's why I said, like, I thought the Venom 1 story was actually good.
Yeah.
Like, I liked that there was this corporation that took this alien thing that it found on the moon and brought it to Earth and started experimenting with it. And before you even knew where the movie was going, you thought Venom was going to be the villain in the first Venom movie. And then it was really shocked to see, like, Eddie Brock and, like, Venom actually become friends. And then and then Eddie was like, look, like, you got to stop eating people and, like, we'll figure something out. Which they kind of sort of talk about in this movie. Like, there's chocolate and, you know, things like that helps Venom not... helps Venom basically not eat people, right?
Chocolate and chicken brains.
Chocolate. and so, like, that whole entire storyline was very unique and interesting. And I didn't think I needed a superhero movie with Venom as not a villain, but a good guy. But I really enjoyed it. This movie just kind of goes off the rails a lot of the times, it feels like. It just doesn't seem to really know what the core of its story is supposed to be. There's a part where they're fighting, Venom and Eddie Brock, and it's kind of doing its own thing, and Eddie Brock is kind of doing its own thing. Carnage just doesn't really... I mean, I guess Carnage is made from Venom's blood, which I thought was fascinating for where that story was going. But it's funny, in the church, he was like, I'm gonna eat you, Father. And the father, the priest, he's like, no. It's like, no, not you, that father. And he was pointed at Venom. Okay, that scene was just really funny.
That made me laugh quite a bit.
And then your favorite line was actually in it, which you said might not be, which I thought that was funny. You're like, it's like, oh, it's the red one, and it goes away. You're like, I swear that line was funny. They're not gonna put it in the movie,
but they did.
They did.
I wasn't disappointed.
And I looked at you. I was like, they said it. It was in the trailer, and now it's in the movie.
Yep.
But I don't know. This movie, you can't take a movie like this seriously, so it's really hard to like say it's a bad movie because they're not really meant to be like this.
You know what was odd
I don't know.
It? This is what was odd about it. They had like a really dark backstory for this serial killer.
Yeah.
About like child abuse and his whole lifestyle, and they try to start making you feel sympathetic for him, and you kind of start feeling bad for him, but then he's the serial killer, and he just keeps getting worse and worse.
Well, he's a serial killer.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's kind of their stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Carnage is
yeah.
just like, I mean, even the comics that I've heard some people... Now, I haven't read, so don't judge me. I might be wrong for all I know. But from everything I've read from people talking about Carnage is like a psychopath. Venom at least has a reason when it eats people and does things. Like, it wants to... Venom was like, I want Spider-Man because... like, the perfect symbiote you can be is with Spider-Man's powers. He can become even stronger, right? Mm-hmm. And he has a reason to do everything. He's not just eating people for the sake. But Carnage is just like this thing that it'll eat anything. Anybody walking around, he'll just eat you. And, like, it's really dark and messed up. So, the only way Carnage were to really connect with anybody, it would have to be a serial killer, right? That would be... I mean, what other way... Because you can't really have sympathy for that character because, I mean, like, you get a good backstory out of why Woody Harrelson... What was Woody Harrelson's character's name? I don't even know. But Woody Harrelson's character's whole motivation is to get back to his long-lost love. But his entire motivation is to basically break her out. They get married. And, you know, their entire... relationship is like, and then Carnage helps him, but they're not clicking like Eddie Brock and Venom, because Eddie Brock and Venom in a weird way, do accept each other and acknowledge each other, even though they fight sometimes. And just let me see your nose.
Hilarious. That was hilarious.
You know, like they hit each other a lot, and Eddie Brock can sometimes not win over Venom, and Venom sometimes can't really win over Eddie Brock. It's not a perfect, like, sinking relationship between those two, but it's enough to kind of like keep that relationship going in this weird toxic relationship way. I love how Tom Hardy gets just like, abuse, I'm calling abuse. Where he like throwing his TV and stuff, and then he's like, I'm gonna throw your chicken out the window, and he's like, don't you dare.
Let me ask you this: of the 3 movies that have Venom in it that you've seen, how would you rank them in order?
Oh, easily the last movie was the best one.
The
Because well, the Spider-Man 3 isn't okay. This is the best way to explain it. When you watch Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man movies or Tobey Maguire's, you know that Tom Holland has nothing to do with those movies. So they're not. Tom Holland's movie isn't a sequel to Tobey Maguire's or like that's all it is. But this franchise is just, there's only 2 movies. There's the one that came before, which was the original, and this is the sequel to that, and that's it.
So if you had to rank them 1, 2, and 3, how would you rank it?
Last movie number 1. This movie, no. Next movie I would even rank higher, Spider-Man 3. There were some interesting things they did with Spider-Man 3, even though I think like they dropped the ball in a lot of other ways in Spider-Man 3. But I did enjoy Spider-Man becoming evil with Venom in Spider-Man 3. That was really cool. I hope we get to see another Spider-Man Venom. Well, probably not, because Venom's not evil like he was in Spider-Man 3. But I would say that would be the next, and this would be my least favorite out of those 3 movies. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy this movie. I'm just saying, like, if I had to rank it, I would put the other 2 higher than this movie. But I thought the entire church scene, the last 20 minutes really saved it. I thought they did a really good job. Like, there were some cool special effects, and how they were able to incorporate Dan, who was barely in the last movie. He actually has a bigger part here than he did the last movie. I really thought he wasn't even going to show up in this movie. Husband? Dan comes into that picture, and Dan is basically like, they're dating, but Venom kind of like feels bad for Eddie and like really likes the girl. At some point he's just like, oh, she's really cool, how did you mess that up? And so he's kind of rooting for him in a weird way. And they start becoming friends, and there's this weird triangle going on. But in this movie, what I liked was there's a triangle between her, Dan, him, and also Venom, which I think is absolutely brilliant. That's the one thing I'll give this movie credit for, because he's like, do your hair, you gotta, don't say anything stupid, we need her to come back and like us again. He's just like, stop. And then like he's like inside of, like, the symbiote is inside of her, and he's kind of, and she's like, he doesn't want to talk to you until you apologize. And it's this weird thing, because she also said that in the last movie. She was like, I need you to apologize to me for firing me and stuff, or I'm not going to talk to you.
Yeah, I missed a lot not having seen the first one.
The first one was great. It really was.
Yeah, this movie definitely didn't live up to the first movie. No. But I really liked the last 20-30 minutes. I liked that Carnage was going to eat everybody, even the people he was like connected to. Like, even the woman who was like the Scream, like, is she an X-Men? Is she somehow connected to the X-Men? What is going on there? They were like, she's a mutant, and her mutant powers are coming. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no X-Men here.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. It must be explained in the comic books. Comment down below and tell us where her scream came from.
I mean, you got me.
It reminded me of Elliot Page in the Umbrella Academy, and her sister.
Oh,
was that the same girl that played her sister with the screaming superpowers?
No.
It was like a very similar character, though.
Yeah. Because Umbrella Academy is not in Marvel at all. In fact,
but it just reminded me of that.
That makes sense. They do have the similar, like, screaming power. So, you're right.
Recommend.
I'd recommend it. I think the only reason I'd recommend this movie is so you can go watch Spider-Man and see how it all kind of connects. The last 20 minutes action was good. I probably will never watch this movie again.
Agreed. George?
I would say go watch this only if you're interested in superhero movies, or well, actually not even necessarily superhero movies. Like, this was like action, and
I was entertained.
yeah, it was entertaining. I won't be watching it again either, but if you're interested in the Venom story, it'd be something to watch. But it has a little bit of good comedy in it.
It does.
I loved it. There was a bit of a shout out there to Detroit. He was watching the Lions game. He was wearing a Lions
Detroit
jacket.
Lions, yeah.
Was it supposed to take place in Detroit? What was?
Oh no.
He's out in LA, but
Was he just
yeah.
a Detroiter?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Okay.
it sounds like that's where he was
And,
born or from.
Yeah, it was awesome to see that.
If you're wondering why George is excited, we live in Metro Detroit. We don't live
Yeah.
in Detroit. But if you
Our
went
poor
20
Lions.
Pretty
minutes,
close.
Our poor Lions, they can't win. Yeah,
So-
just very sad.
For me, I normally hate any kind of action movie. This one kept my attention well enough. I wouldn't go see it again. But I kept relaying it to like a picture of mental health and like a parasitic being or a mental illness
well, that's what
taking
it's
over
technically
your
supposed to be.
yeah, taking over your brain, and you have to struggle and fight against it to keep that side of yourself from destroying everything you love. So from that perspective, I thought it did a pretty good job if you read it as a mental health story. But there's better movies about mental health and there's better movies about superheroes. This one was good enough. It kept me entertained, but I only recommend it if you have to go see every superhero movie and you need maybe this one would probably be good for like younger teenagers, because it didn't really have a lot of objectionable content in it. This was really like,
I would say this movie's really dark. I'm shocked
Yeah,
that
this was dark.
Yeah, like I would not recommend even PG-13. Even the rating is PG-13.
no, this wasn't that bad.
Oh, it was pretty bad.
It was bad.
It was bad. It was dark.
The problem was their portrayal of it.
Yeah.
Of
I agree.
a
I see what
serial
you're
killer.
saying.
And that
Yeah,
we've seen that tends to trigger a lot of people in a lot of different situations. Yeah.
Bad relationships, like toxic
It's-
relationships.
Yeah, this is a very triggerful movie.
Yeah,
I guess it depends on your situation and what your triggers are, but
honestly, I'm more shocked about all the stuff they got away with PG-13. For the amount of violence
Yeah.
and dark material that is here.
It was pretty dark.
Yeah, like
you could
I mean,
tell it was Sony, not Marvel. I will say that
because
much.
Disney would never make this movie.
Marvel
No.
would never have something this dark in it.
Yeah, so it's yeah, and I think Sony's trying to give Disney a middle finger. I think, you know what I'm saying, just to say like, we'll include Tom
Sort
Holland
of like
in our
Venom
Spider-Man.
when he
Yeah,
was running away.
and the bike, the poor lady. He's like and he's like giving
Okay, that was hilarious. I felt so bad though, because I love motorcycles, and I just to see that one torn apart, I was just like heartbroken.
Oh,
It was so beautiful.
What is
was
it
such a
called?
beautiful motorcycle.
Ducati?
Ducati.
Ducati.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
Ducati, and it was torn to shreds.
I mean, that thing is almost cost a house, dude.
the car, the red car.
No, the motorcycle.
Oh,
That's
Yeah.
a real. It's like the Corvette of motorcycles.
Yes, they're
That
amazing.
thing, I kid you not. Last time I looked up a price for one of those motorcycles, it was like around
To
80,000.
give you an idea, like that is Keanu Reeves' favorite motorcycle.
That makes
is
sense.
A Ducati. So yeah.
Yeah.
all right. Any final thoughts?
I thought it was hilarious when when Venom came out at that event.
Oh, the
At the
beginning.
carnival of the dead, like in
Oh!
the middle of the movie
That
when
is-
he came out.
Okay, let's- That
my
is by
goodness.
far the best scene in the entire movie, in my opinion.
That was so funny.
It's like, I like you
was-
all. You all accept me.
Yeah.
I love you too.
I laughed the hardest when he said, "Time to die, father," and the Catholic priest
Oh, yeah,
freaks
yeah, yeah.
out and he goes, "Not you, it's my other father."
Yep.
I
That was
mean,
great.
what the head monologue between Venom and Tom Hardy is really well done. Even in the last
Absolutely.
movie, because people are like, "Who are you talking to?" Sorry, I don't know where that came from. People are just like, "You're fucking great." well, I can't say that. You're absolutely insane. You know that?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because nobody else can see him. And then the other thing is Venom is always like trolling him the entire movie. He's always trying to get him to like burst into like some emotional thing.
When he was telling him, I'm gonna make you cry now. She'll love it. Cry, cry.
It's so funny. And he's like, I'm gonna go grab my helmet.
Yes.
That was great.
Is Venom here? Yes, I'm here. No, he's not. It's like, are you lying to me? No, he died. Like, on the bridge. It's like, no, I'm right here. Just tell her I miss her too. That's just like